What's up, guys? So today I'm going to be showing you how to take off and replace the intake gaskets on a Series II L67 motor, which is the supercharged 3800 out of a Grand Prix GTP from 1999, is which one mine is from. So as you can see, I have the fuel rail taken off and the throttle body removed. I took, as well as, well, obviously the throttle body is removed, the supercharger's off. I took the supercharger off. Make sure when you're doing these swaps, like when you're changing this stuff, you actually change the plenum gasket. You don't want to be using old gaskets. That's not, especially not with paper gaskets. So first thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna need to unhook all your electronics. You don't really need to take off your battery, but if you feel like you need to, then you can do that if you want. Unhook your vacuum line, so you need to be unhooked. Take pictures of everything because you may not remember entirely where everything goes, especially in a scenario where it's a swap in a car it doesn't belong to. So after you get all that unhooked, you'll take the supercharger off, and then now we're going to be taking off the intake manifold. Okay, and then once you get that off, you'll see that in here we have the inside of the motor, which actually from here you can actually generally see the condition of your head gaskets too. Now you can't see the entirety of your head gaskets, but you can see a pretty good chunk of them. Now this motor has been rebuilt, so the inside of this may look a bit cleaner or nicer, or newer even, than a motor that, say, has never been taken apart before. But that's neither here nor there. It's not every motor, especially for an over 20-year-old motor, it's not going to look perfect. So these are the gaskets that would normally come on the car when you get it. It's these plastic gaskets. These are prone to fail. The plastic will break down over time as you drive the motor and it gets hot and it does what it does. It's prone to failing because it's made of a bad material. So what I recommend is getting are these gaskets. They look the same, but they're not. So both are AC Delco, but these are the steel gaskets, so they're actually metal. These are a lot stronger and they'll last a lot longer than these ones, which are prone to failing. So if you're changing out your gaskets, which I'd imagine you are, I would recommend getting the steel AC Delco gaskets, which building on that, I also recommend going with AC Delco for pretty much anything you're replacing that's not a performance part. So if it's a factory part that you're replacing, go with AC Delco. It's the GM genuine brand. It's what they use from the factory. So it's going to be a little bit pricier than some of the cheaper stuff on that you'll find, but just go on Rock Auto, find AC Delco. It's worth the money. You won't have to replace this quickly. It's just better. Okay, and so then when you're putting these on here, what you want to be looking for are these little nubs. They raise a little bit, but they'll go into these circle holes down here. They'll literally just go right in place, and they'll fit right in place just like that. And same with these pieces. You'll see these little nubs, and you'll want to put those in place in those nubs. They'll fit in like so. This part will be dipping down inside, and then the other part, which you will see from outside, when you actually have everything back on, you'll see pieces of the gaskets sticking out. That's fine. It's supposed to be like that. You didn't do anything wrong. So it'll fit in like that. And then the next thing you're going to want to do before sealing this back up is actually take some silicone gasket maker like this ultra gray. You can just get it at O'Reilly's, and then just seal the corners. Otherwise you could have a coolant leak or a vacuum leak Trust me, you want to do it. You don't want to skip out on that part. And just like that, just put it on with your fingers. It'll make sure everything's stays together, and it'll keep everything that's supposed to be inside. And you're gonna want to do that because it could cause a lot of issues that could be avoided. And so after putting that on, you're gonna want to put everything back in place. So starting with the intake, obviously. And when you do this, make sure you're following the correct bolt order that you're supposed to put them on. I'll show you a picture of that right now. All right, and with that in mind, let's get the bolts back in place. I would like to add, they do have a torque spec for the intake and supercharger. But the torque spec for the intake is, I believe, 11 or 17 pounds. Which is so low that, if I'm being honest, you don't have to torque it. Just tighten it till it's tight, like you would anything else on the motor. Now, some might disagree with me and say, no, you should torque them. And if you feel like you need to torque them, then do so. It wouldn't hurt to follow exactly what it says, but I'm just saying that you don't necessarily have to torque them exactly to spec. So, with that in mind, let's get this going. Alright, and with that, the intake is back on and everything is put on the correct order. And then now, what you have to do is just let it sit and cure for 24 hours, because you put, or should have put, the gasket material in around the corners of the gaskets. So yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty quick if you know what you're doing. Yeah, good luck.